There are many uncertainties in this world, from what the weather could be a week from now, or who will win the Super Bowl next year, or even what device will Apple develop in the next 5 years. It is difficult for us to predict the future. It is difficult to prepare for what is ahead. One thing is certain, however. As educators, we have the power to change and mold the future. We have the tools to train our students and provide them with the learning experiences they need. This year, more than ever, I help my students acquire the skills for jobs that I believe don't yet exist. Although I was an average user of technology in my class, I never really pushed my students to venture out of their comfort zone. We used some tools, but for the most part, I was simply substituting traditional tools with technology. As I became part of the Apple Academy, my whole perspective changed, and these are the results. One of the tools we use is Canva. In this app, students were able to create stunning graphic designs and present them across multiple formats and platforms. For one assignment, my students used Mac and VIA to conduct research and then design brochures to educate others about the dangers of invasive species. This was something we read about in class and then tied it in with the science concept of stability in an ecosystem. Also, with a Google account, we established our drives, and most of my students also began working on their Google sites. And for that, some of my students helped me create a tutorial video.
My name is Alexis. Today I'm going to show you how to log into Google Sites. Okay, first step would be this is some basic information of how to create your Google Sites. On our next video,
Because I teach writing, my students use multiple web tools or apps to create digital stories. In fact, most of the time we use 2 or more to complete one project. Storybird, for example, was amazing.
Here was Storybird. This app helps us students create stories. For example, our personal lives, things we've experienced in life, and how we're feeling. It's a way to let everything out, basically. After writing our story and selecting the illustration, we use QuickTime to create a digital story. Priscilla's pain. Priscilla was like any other teenager. She was an A student in school and was very social. On the outside, everything was great, but no one knew of her pain, the great obstacles in her life.
Although Edmodo was the first choice for digital submissions of assignments, my students also used Google Drive to share assignments with me or their peers. I gave them immediate feedback and I was able to see the changes instantly. The beauty of this was the fact that I was able to implement a modified blended learning system, which allowed the learning to continue far beyond the walls of my classroom and way after the bell rang. My students also participated in the global computer science movement known as the Hour of Code. They were exposed to coding and programming, and they worked together to solve puzzles using simple and complex commands. At the end, they received a certificate, and the smiles on their faces was more than rewarding. We also use Padlet quite often. With this virtual wall, students collaborated and share ideas in real time.
The reason I like this app is because it is less tedious. It helps us get ideas from the other students in our class because it's all live and you can see what they're typing.
The iPad became an integral part of my classroom instruction. It allowed my students to be more confident in their abilities. They created products that they had never done before. From presentations on Keynote and incredible images on the Viz or Sketches app, technology really changed the way they learned. Perhaps the most versatile apps in the iPad were the Adobe Spark Post and video apps. Because I am a firm believer in making connections across different subjects, these apps allow my students to create videos and eye-catching posters to share with others.
After learning how to really use this app, we made some posts for history, like the 10 Amendments. We also made some posts describing certain science topics that were difficult for other students to understand.
Spark Video also allowed my students to be creative, from history and science videos to creative writing in a digital story, and even a video to teach the little ones to tie their shoes. My emphasis was to focus on deeper learning, which is the delivery of rich core content to students in innovative ways that allow them to learn and then apply what they have learned. Steve Jobs believed that the ones who actually changed the world were those crazy enough to think they could change it. I am one of those.